Okay. All right. Hi. Hello.
Nicole,
Hello.
Yeah.
please
Can you hear
go
me?
online. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Claudio, I hear you.
Okay, then we are connected.
Ah, Paphos is there. Fine.
Yeah, perfect. So we're gonna be waiting until 11:30.
Exactly, it's true. Yes, we are waiting.
Okay, I will be
7 minutes.
connected then.
7 minutes relaxing time.
Okay, all right.
Hello, this is Derek Robbins. Can you hear me as well?
Hi, hi.
The camera
Hello.
isn't working. My camera isn't working at the moment. I'm trying to sort that now.
Yeah, take time. Oh, Laura is also there. Hello.
Hello, Francisca.
Should we take the one you've given here as to show it in Bremerhaven at the workshop?
Alles klar. Bitte?
Ich glaube, das liegt an der Verbindung. Also
Also mein kleines Bild ist okay. Ist das externe Bild schlecht?
Warum ist das bei mir so und nicht so? Die sind online. Was ist denn
Wo warst du letztes Mal?
CMCK-PT?
Okay, lass. Jetzt erinnerst du mich an meine Schwäche. Ach so. Okay.
Stefan, ich kann dich nicht sehen. Wie kommt's? Ach so. Ah, Eric ist der.
So, now.
Derek?
Yes?
Yes, what is about your presentation?
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, no, I didn't prepare a PowerPoint. I was just going to talk.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
I didn't know whether you were going to be able to show presentations, and I find it awkward on the screen. So I've got notes here, and I will send everybody a summary next week of what I said.
But we have the presentation if you want to. You've had and hold here in Bremerhaven at the workshop. Does this help you perhaps, or you don't need it?
No, I don't need it because I wasn't going to repeat it. No.
Okay.
I was going to say new things.
Okay.
Try to.
We'll be fine.
das zeigt an, wie viele online sind. 5. Plus die alle.
So, you can start.
Yes. Hello. I want to welcome you to the webinar DESTI SMART Intermodality Facilities for Visitors, including ICT and Mobile Apps. I don't know who's all now joining. I've perhaps first introduce our members here in Bremerhaven and our stakeholders, and do a short introduction. Yeah, I'm Nicole. I'm the communication officer for the project and senior manager here in Bremerhaven for Erlebnis Bremerhaven, a touristic company of the city of Bremerhaven. And on my side is Laura.
Yes, hello. I'm Laura Kotziper, and I'm the assistant of the senior manager, Nicole, and I'm also a staff member of the Erlebnis Bremerhaven.
Hello, Franziska here, the project and financial manager of the DESTI SMART project. Welcome, everybody.
Hello, I'm Jasmin Meyer, and I'm the trainee for 3 months in city marketing.
Hello, my name is Jörg Fröhlich. I represent the stakeholder for the local bus operator, Bremerhaven Bus.
Good morning. Here's Stefan Rösler, working at City Department for the things traffic engineering.
Yes, these are the participants from Bremerhaven, and perhaps the members who is now with us can also introduce if you want to. Hello.
Hello, good morning. I'm Derek Robbins from Bournemouth University, the advisory partner.
Thank you, Derek.
Hello.
Isman.
I'm István Hegedűs from Lake Balaton Development Coordination Agency.
Thank you, István. We don't see your picture. You don't have a camera?
I have a camera, but the Wi-Fi is a little bit weak, and if I use the camera, it's quite slugging. But
okay,
you can try if you want. It can avoid the problem.
But you can see us. That's important for the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. And Manos, are you online?
Maybe microphone. Yes. Now you can hear me?
Hello to Greece.
Hi. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I had the microphone off. Okay, yes, good morning. Thank you very much for organizing this. Hope it's not the end.
Very busy.
In a way, it's better than go to webinar because I can see all of you.
Okay. We are sorry we choose this software because it was provided us from our software company who is supporting us. Yes.
Is Mallorca also there? Is Mallorca also there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Hello, Carmen.
How are you?
You're fine. Okay. Artemis is also online, or just Manos? And who do you want to start now with your part, Manos?
Maybe the lead partner can kick off. Is the lead partner online?
Artemis?
Krista is there?
Christus.
I don't know. The A is perhaps Artemis, but I'm not sure. She's not answering.
Can you bring the others on the screen or participants?
No, just when they talk, it goes automatically.
Oh. Risa should be online. I can see. Risa, can you hear us?
You're faint, but I can just hear you, Manus.
Oh, I haven't got a microphone. I rely on the laptop.
Okay, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, I'll come a bit closer. I was wondering if Risa is online. Remember that. If not, well, it shows online.
Yeah.
What about Afos in Sardinia? Are they online?
Pablo is here. Nicolas is on the line.
Okay, good. Because I cannot see all of you. I can see only 3 of you, or 4. Now I can see now, Nicolas. Yes.
Yeah. Ahí.
Calimera.
Calimera.
So,
Okay,
so the lead partner is not online.
it shows online, but I don't know if they can hear us or if they can if they have the microphone on. I can also see Hannah from Hastings is online.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello,
Hannah.
Hannah.
Hello, Hannah.
Hi, you're right.
We hear you. Fine, thank you.
I'm here as Fiona's here. It's just Kevin's at another meeting. Sorry.
Okay.
I can see that Artemis is online, but she's just got her microphone muted.
Oh,
Yes, thanks, Hannah.
Yeah, I had to click about 5 times. It wouldn't unmute initially when I tried. It did in the end.
oh, lovely.
That's surprising. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, unless the lead partner will say something. I can start by welcoming you all, and thanks very much for Bremerhaven for organizing this. Is it recorded?
Yes, it's recorded.
Okay, good. So we can maybe we can eliminate the first part. Edit it out. I mean, it can be done. We can do it. The idea of having these webinars following the workshops we had in Hastings and in Bremerhaven, and the next ones that we're going to do in Mallorca and Latvia, is to bring some conclusions from the workshop after 2 months. Also to involve other people that have not been involved or couldn't come to Bremerhaven in September. And a wider audience, maybe also stakeholders, but also very important is that this is video recorded and can be used by others, members of staff, stakeholder representatives, to catch up with whatever is going on in the project, according to the 4 themes. And of course, we have to condense what we did in a day and a half in Bremerhaven. We have to condense it in 90 minutes, in an hour and a half. So we need to focus on key points and conclusions, and also the best practices that we have on this topic, which ideally have to be uploaded on the platform, on the policy learning platform. Because remember, we have, I believe, 10 good practices that we have to identify and document, and that's one per partner. So it can be on intermodality, it can be on other things as well. But now we've been working for more than a year since the kickoff in Thessaloniki in September last year. Therefore, we should have something to show in terms of capitalizing good practices and sharing experience between the partner destinations. In terms of intermodality, we have to stress that we're not doing intermodality for the sake of it. It's not for everything. On intermodality, and we're talking, of course, passenger intermodality, intermodality has been studied several times. There's a lot of material in terms of normal transport planning or sustainable mobility planning in cities. But here we're focusing on the visitor intermodality. Therefore, we need to see how principles and practices and initiatives and solutions that have worked for cities in terms of normal mobility needs of residents can be adapted to accommodate the tourists. Because the reason we introduced this in the first place was because we believe that visitors in destinations, arriving at destinations, at airports, ports, bus stations, railway stations, need extra information, extra facilities, because they're not day-to-day users of the transport system. Therefore, they're not familiar with the transport system, and they need extra information and facilities to be able to use the public transport in particular, and cycling and more sustainable mobility modes more efficiently. Therefore, we need to give it this information in different forms, including digital forms now, and also in terms of facilities to tourist attractions, because obviously the patterns of visitors are not the same as the residents in terms of origin, destination, in terms of time of day, in terms of time of the week. Therefore, we need to accommodate all these extra needs of the visitor in terms of long distance and short distance transport in particular. And this is where the project Last Mile, which is a first call project, now is concluding, has produced a lot of good practices we can accommodate, we can adapt and adopt between the long distance and short distance elements of travel for visitors in particular, and flexible mode. But also we need to look at cycling, pedestrians, public transport, and also the facilities for visitors to specific large attractions in our destinations, in our 9 destinations, where they need particular service to take them to these specific destinations. So this is the challenge, and we have all the material from the Bremerhaven workshop is available, including Derek's presentation in Bremerhaven. And now we can talk about more details and share conclusions from those discussions we had in Bremerhaven, and also involve other stakeholders as appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Manos. Derek, now it's your part. I don't know, you wanted to talk about intermodality for visitors.
Yes, indeed. I have concentrated on at the request of the coordinator on the intermodality for visitors, and I wasn't going to go through the Bremerhaven presentation again because, as Manos says, it's available. And what I've been doing over the last month or so is I've been analysing the questionnaires from the summer questionnaire from the 4 partners I have received, and I will be sending them. I'm away, I'm afraid, from tomorrow for 3 days, but when I get back I will be finalising editing and sending them reports from those questionnaires. But I just wanted to make some key points that I think are interesting. The first one is that for most destinations, car is the dominant mode of transport to travel to the destination. So therefore, with the intermodality agenda, one of the things that we ought to be trying to address in at least one or two partners in the project is how we persuade people who have arrived by car not to use the car around the destination, to improve the air quality, to reduce the congestion, and to generally improve the environment, and also give them a more satisfactory experience. The exception to that actually was Greece, Thessalonica, where actually the pattern of behaviour was a little bit different, because the largest group on their survey was international visitors, and therefore there was a 50% air share and a 33% car share. But everywhere else, car was the dominant mode of transport. And one of the things that was very noticeable is that actually we're not very successful at getting people to use public transport who have arrived by car. If we take, for instance, Hastings, which is perhaps the most car dominated of the destinations, it's nobody, in reality, it's about 1 or 2%, nobody is using the bus who has arrived in Hastings by car. Now, that's partly explained because they're predominantly day visitors, not staying visitors. Staying visitors will use the car more, but it is an issue, particularly with the project that they have of getting people moving around and along the seafront and spreading out the visitors in Hastings. There is a real challenge to get people out of the car. At the other end of the scale, if we look at Bremerhaven, they're actually remarkably successful, as are Thessalonica, at getting people who are staying visitors to actually use the bus as well as the car while they're there. The second thing is, what I'm going to try and do when I have all the summer surveys is write a comparison report. I've actually got a draft comparison report, but it's only got the surveys I've looked at. But what is clear is that they are going to be very different. Hastings is very domestic and dominated by day visits. Domestic is also the largest share of the market for Bremerhaven and Lake Belaton, but much more staying visitors, a much lower share of day visitors, although Lake Belaton has got a very significant international share at 25%. Greece has got the large international share, followed by the domestic market. And those markets are behaving differently. And so we perhaps need to have a look at how interchangeable the facilities are, what we can learn from each other, and where we spot the differences and actually follow different policies because we got different types of visitors. So Lake Belaton and Bremerhaven, for instance, they need to work, I think, quite hard on multilingual information, because they got lots of international tourists. It's perhaps less critical where the vast majority of the visitors are domestic. So that's the second key point I wanted to make, is that we got lots of different types of visitors. In terms of rail, it's got a really quite significant share. For most of the destinations, it ranges from about 11 up to about 25%. But for most of our destinations, we are talking 19-20% share of arrivals by rail. And there's a real opportunity for much greater intermodality between the rail and the other public transport services. There is relatively little evidence that people are either buying combined tickets or even using both modes of transport at the destination. And there's a real opportunity for rail to increase its share. Because of the size of our destinations, because of the urban, rural nature, the size of the population, for the 4 destinations I've looked at, bus is the dominant public transport share. And actually, in the case of looking at some of them, you've got really quite significant bus market shares, Bremerhaven, about a third of the visitors use the bus. Thessalonica, about 55% of visitors use the bus. Lake Belaton has actually got much more attractions around lakes and boats, but there's still a 12% using the bus. So we've got really quite large bus shares in some of our destinations, and I think one of the things we need to look at is, when I do my comparison report, to try and draw out some lessons that can be learned to increase the bus shares at other destinations. The cycling share is, by and large, rather disappointing. Really quite low in Hastings and Thessalonica. We're up at the sort of 12-13% in Bremerhaven and Lake Belaton, and Lake Belaton has got very much an attraction as medical tourism, health tourism, well-being tourism, and I think that's a really significant market for them. Again, with such very large percentages, for instance, in Greece arriving as international tourists, if we're going to persuade them to cycle, we're going to need them not only to feel safe, and there are some really quite good cycle path networks, but we've also got to make it easy for them to be able to hire bikes on demand, and that's where mobility as a mass transit system comes in. It would be wonderful to have tickets, as I was explaining in the Bremerhaven tutorial, where people can actually maybe whether it's prepaid or whether it's on demand, but they can actually make bookings for buses and cycles together, rather than it being seen as separate transitions. So this is mobility as a service coming into play, and I think that those destinations with low cycling shares, particularly where they're attracting large numbers of visitors and tourists, are going to need to work at increasing that cycle share by beginning to attract people on through ticketing. And the really big point, I suppose, I wanted to make is that there's really very little evidence of sort of conurbation bound tickets. The best example from the destinations I've looked at is Bremerhaven, where you have got a significant number of people buying multi-user tickets, but very, very high percentage of tickets either being bought on the bus or single or return journeys. Now that can make a lot of sense for tourists who are there for a short time, who are only going to make 1 or 2 journeys, but I do feel that there's a real opportunity for tourist type tickets where they have a ticket that means they can go on and off buses, on and off rail, on and off cycling, and that actually our ticketing, an integrated ticketing system, would be very valuable. As I say, there are elements of it being used in Bremerhaven, but it wasn't really coming out of the other surveys. So what I'm trying to do there is, having done a presentation in Bremerhaven about the sorts of things one needs to do, like mobility as a service, like through ticketing, like making interchange easier, that we actually now need to move on and look at the market shares at places and make that possible. And if we're going to get a share, particularly where it's day visitors, and a very few day visitors move from car to public transport, that's possibly understandable, but directly policies like having a parking space where there's having parking perhaps slightly out of town, park and ride or park and stride type facilities where access to public transport is made easy and very good, maybe can begin to sort of relieve the congestion, improve the air quality, and generally have an impact in the more central area of the destination. As I say, I didn't want to do a PowerPoint, because I didn't want to do lots of percentages about the bus share here compared with the bus share there or somewhere else, but I hope that gives some idea on how I think we need now to use the surveys to begin to learn lessons from each other, but also begin to identify the differences between us, the differences in the type of visitor, in the facilities that we have. My final point is I'm really keen to have a look at the questionnaires when they come in from what I call the island destinations, because like Thessalonica, they're going to have a much bigger share of international visitors, a much bigger share of arrivals by air, and I would like to see what the public transport use in those facilities is, and whether they use multiple modes of transport to compare with some of the other destinations. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, I think. Thank you, Derek, for your explanation. And now I need a short time just to bring up the presentation, and then I will take, I think, a little longer than 10 minutes because our second best practice from Mallorca is not possible. Philip is not able to be with us. I'm sorry, but Carmen is there. Hello. And Istvan is coming after my presentation. Say hello to like Balaton after my presentation. So, okay, we'll see how it works. I don't see it yet. Ah. Okay, can everybody see it?
Yes. For me.
Yes, for me.
Yes. Yes, for me.
Okay, then I will start. Okay, with the first chart. The use of the different modes of transport means intermodality. Then you always have to ask why they have to take the different modes of transport. Which requirements do we have to make it usable, to change the different modes of transport? You have to promote it, the use of the public transport. At first, Derek already told that a lot of people come in, also the day tourists in Bremerhaven for one day, and they come by car from the destinations on the coast to Bremerhaven to visit our big museums, and they not enough. They changed then to the public buses. Mostly they walk, and we try to bring them on different transport vehicles like bikes, or also perhaps next times scooters or something like this. It's to combine the advantages of the different modes of transport will be important to show, and the transport systems, and that's a really important point, must mesh. That's why you have to have these hubs where they can meet each other. Like here, we see the modes of transport shown in the picture down. Yeah, see how that works. We showed in Bremerhaven who the modes of transport are. You can see it here on this. I don't know if you see that on the left side of the card, and all the dots on the card of Bremerhaven shows the different transports you have. It's taxi stands or car sharing stations, car park, but also rental cars, or the ferries or boat possibilities to change between boat and car. What is not marked on this card is the bike parking spaces. We have a lot because a lot of people, also the inhabitants, take for mobility the bikes, and the short ship trips areas are also not marked. And what's coming now is a free-floating bike rental. Those are also not marked because we are just schedule where we want to put them. And e-scooter rental is in some cities already placed, but not in Bremerhaven yet. We don't have somebody who just want to afford it here. So these are charts we shown at the workshop in September, but I took them again just to tell the people who will not join us in Bremerhaven and tell something about how we do the intermodality in Bremerhaven. These are the mode of transport in Bremerhaven. Here the most frequented part is for sure is the main station. There comes the train from the region in, and there we have, and it's shown on the pictures down. It's our main station in Bremerhaven with a big parking place for bikes for the people who work in Bremerhaven. It comes with a train from the cities around and from Bremen, and then they take their a second bike perhaps, or the people who work in the area around and goes by train needs to park their bikes up there. Then there are the technical aspects and technic aids to simplify the use of a different means of transport. There are a lot of different possibilities we have here in Bremerhaven. We have dynamic passenger information. It includes the real time when the buses are coming. Then we have a mobility apps for smartphones. I show a little later. And also we have a card, mobility card called Bob, also from the VBN. It's regional yes, Association of Providers of Transport Services here in Bremerhaven. We talked at the workshop about it, that it's not really known in other countries, but we have it here in Germany really often, that we have associations for the region, and in Bremerhaven it's the VBN, who's offering the planners and also our mobility app. It's I think it's really good made because you have always there the view of the user, and the user wants to go from A to B, and how many means of transport he does need to reach his destination is then the question, and it must be very comfortable to use it. If you go to, for example, to go to work, you have to change 2 or 3 times. It has to fix together that you don't need so much time. And if you don't have associations, you have different providers, and you have to buy more than one ticket, and that's just not usable. And this is why we have in all the big regions in Germany such associations of public transports. This is the VBN region, and you see it goes really long, and it's also really great for students, because if they study in Bremerhaven, they get a ticket for the region and can travel with a public transport, then with a fee of the university or the school in the region for free. We have here Bremerhaven on the top and the dark part, and this is the Fabian, but this bigger region is also included. It's Niedersachsen, Lower Saxony, Tarif. So this is the VBN website and also app. I just show really short. There you can put in the start and where you want to go, and it looks about all the public transports you need in between. And you also can buy it on this mobile app. And here you can see the different buses you can take in the time you want to drive, or which trams you have to take, or which buses you have to take. It's also included in the app is to buy the ticket, but also the POEs like restaurants, sites, or museums, or things of interest. And it's also possible for us to do this for Bremerhaven. It's not. It depends on how much POs we give to the offers. Yeah, I think. Yeah, future mobility. As I think the last chart, there we have the hydrogen green gas for Bremerhaven as new project, and it's this can be used prospectively in the mobility sector for the next years. Then we have the inclusion of scooters, car and bike sharing, mixed public transport, individual transport in one intermodal app. It's already in use, but it could be more. The VBN app now just involved the buses and the trains and the trams, but not the bike rental. It shows where the bikes are, but bike rental and scooters are yet not included, but it could be included in next times. Then we have a coalition agreement, the citywide expansion of car and bike sharing and other sharing services with links and other modes of transport is to be intensified. So the politics want that we make this part more interesting for all inhabitants and also for our tourists. An incentive system for climate neutral drive types, free use of parking areas is to be created. Also, this wants to be improved by the coalition agreement, so from the politics. And these objects, among others, are going to be translated into strategies, programs, and projects through a model development plan until 2023. Yeah, that was my part for first. I think we have time to discuss after the presentations. And yeah, I would like to ask if Istvan is ready, then we would change the presentations.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Thank you.
Yeah? Okay, thank you. Wie kriege ich das jetzt runter? Okay. Okay. Istvan, you have to take the steering control
Try my best.
It's on the left side of the presentation.
I found it, yeah, and I took control, but I'm seeing just your presentation at the moment.
Yeah, it will come, I think.
Coming, yeah, I see.
Do you see it?
Yes, great, thank you.
Okay, and then on the left side, you can take the steering of the presentation.
Okay, thanks a lot. So, good day for everybody. I'm István Gedős and I represent Lake Balaton Development Coordination Agency. I will speak about the intermodality transport hubs in our region. Let's see. Yes. So first of all, a quick overview about the transportation of Lake Balaton region. As you can see in the slide, we have different kind of transportation modes. We have small regional airport. It's really a small one. The annual number of passengers it's about 20,000. We have navigation on the lake with 660,000 passengers. One of the most important transportation modes is the ferry between the north and the south part of the lake. The ferry has annually more than 1 million passengers. There is an important motorway which is between Budapest and the Croatian border. The motorway, it's M7 motorway. There is 25,000 vehicles per day, but in the summer times, in the peak season, it is quite overcrowded and we have lots of congestions. There is bicycle road all around the lake. The overall length of the bicycle road is 220 kilometers. And the railway in the south part of the lake is part of the Trans-European Rail Network. A few words about the transport development in the Lake Balaton region. Our development are defined by the regional development concept for 2014 and 2030 and the regional development strategy and operational program. The goal of the transport development is to operate an environmentally friendly and resource efficient transport system in the Lake Balaton region, which can respond flexibly to the changing needs. I'd like to highlight the second part of the sentence, which can respond flexibly to the changing needs. This is the most difficult part of the development, I think. A few action which is important to achieve the goals. We should synchronize the regional public transport system. Sustainable operation of the airport at Sharm el Sheikh, it's necessary. We have to solve traffic congestions. The electrifying of railway transport along the northern shoreline is an ongoing project at the moment. And of course, it is important to develop environmentally friendly electric modes of transport in our regions. The most important thing to achieve the goals is to establish a regional transport association. This association should synchronize the different transport modes and the offers of the different transport operators. Then we should establish a direct connection between the water and railway transport, either in the peak season, but it is important in the off season as well. And as part of the synchronization process, park and ride and bike and ride facilities should be established. Okay, let's see some projects in relation to intermodality. I have to say that it was quite difficult was more challenging to find real good examples. The next projects are not perfect, but they show a few elements of intermodality in our case. The first one is improving public transport conditions in Balatonfüred, establishing intermodal public transport. The total cost of the project is 3.4 million euro, and it was implemented by the Hungarian National Railway Company and co-financed by the EU, of course, and the Northwest Hungarian Transport Center. Here you can see a map which shows you the area of the project. Within the project, the railway station was reconstructed, energy efficient building using renewable energy sources, heating and cooling solutions, and so on. The building facade was renovated, technical facilities used for serving passengers and operating railway infrastructure was modernized, and the information system was improved. Accessibility of passenger compartments and toilets was improved. 3 wheelchair lifts were set up between the station underpass and the platforms. Surrounding of the bus station was also renewed. P+R facilities for 50 cars equipped with public lighting and road surveillance cameras was established. Common train and bus ticket office was established, and the ticket vending machine was set up. A modern audiovisual passenger information system was installed, and free Wi-Fi network was developed. The next project is a quite small one. It's a complex public transport development in Keszthely-Zalakaros microregion. It contains bus station reconstructions and GPS monitoring and tracking dynamic passenger information system. This is I think the most unique part of the project, not the reconstruction of different kind of bus stations. And they are working on a demand-driven transport system, and the whole cost was almost €1 million of this project. We had a huge project, the south part of the lake. It was upgrading the whole railway line. The grant amount was almost 220 million euro. Many railway station was rebuilt, and the whole railway line was rebuilt. Breakwater was constructed at Fonyód. Pedestrian passages and road crossing were improved. But the most important development is still missing: the reconstruction of the bus station and construction of the second car ferry port. This missing element could make this project a real intermodal project. So it is necessary to improve in the next couple of years. Here you can see many different kind of infrastructure developments to improve quality of public transport. I don't want to tell you all, because most of them are renovations and reconstructions of different kind of railway buildings and stations. But the most important development was in Siófok. In this project, they established a passenger information system for railway, bus, and water transport all together. So this could be a good intermodal development in our region. Here you can see on the map the settlements all around the lake where intermodal public transport projects have been implemented. As you can see, there are more in the southern part because it was developed during the rail line development project. We have an ongoing project. This is the modernization of the Schió channel in Siófok. Within the project, the water level control sluice will be developed, reconstructing the water gate at Siófok, making the Schió channel navigable, and developing river cluster at Balaton-Kiliti, which is the east part of the town. And the total cost is more than 50 million euro, and the project will be finished within 2 years. In the map, you can see the area of the development. You can see the harbor, the water gate, the water level control sluice, and as you can see, it's not so far from this. There is a train station and a bus station, and here you can see the railway line along the southern shoreline. So the missing development is the reconstruction of bus station located in the neighborhood of the railway station. The common ticket office and the waiting room is necessary to develop, to avoid the duplication of the infrastructure. And let's see a project financed from national sources. This will be the second car ferry service on the lake between Badacsony and Fonyód. You can see on the picture where will it be take place. This car ferry will be the second one, as I mentioned. As I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, the existing ferries, it's a quite important transportation method, mainly in the peak season in our region. So this is why we are thinking that it's necessary to develop another car ferry service. In this car ferry service, the transport and tourism functions are both involved. The planned ferry service can contribute to significantly shorten the journey time between the settlements located on the opposite shoreline of the lake. It takes about 1.5 hours to arrive from one settlement to another, which can be reduced to less than half an hour by traveling by this ferry. The port should be reconstructed and connected into transport infrastructure, and it won't only be used for transporting cars, but also for transporting passengers as well. And of course, it is necessary to purchase new ferry boats. The planned cost of this project is nearly 20 million euro. So I think this was all from my side. So these were our projects connected somehow to intermodality. I know they are not so perfect intermodality project, but we have some elements which is, I think it's could be a good example for others as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Istvan, for your presentation. And I just ask Manos if we now just start with the interactive session. So we discuss the point of intermodality, and it would be also possible that we have 3 stakeholders here from the Basse Fröhlich, Stefan Rösler from the city planning, and Klaas Schott is now also here. Hello. And perhaps we can just also discuss some Bremerhaven themes as you like. Manos? Hello.
We can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Microphone was off.
No.
Okay, now.
Yeah, what I was saying is that what we should be doing now that we have all this material is to focus on good practices that we can report. And this have to be really very brief and to the point. So a lot of material is there, but if you look at the form of the good practices and the online equivalent, there are a limited number of characters to describe the good practice, the resources required, the evidence of success, and the possibility of transfer, and also challenges. I would urge all partners to think of at least one good practice now to report. Preferably, we need some by the end of this week, if possible. But it's very easy. You see, that's what I'm saying. It's very easy. Once you have all the material, it's very easy to put it into the form, because in the form it's very, very brief. It's only a few paragraphs. The whole form is 2 pages. So we need to do this. Of course, if we do it by Friday, it will be counted as this semester. If we do it later, it will be the next semester. That's one thing that we have to do as far as possible. The other thing is that all this talk about intermodality can also be included in the feasibility studies that different destinations will do or are doing. I know the most advanced one at the moment is Hastings, if I'm not mistaken. It's already underway. I'm not sure about what happens in the other feasibility studies. We'll discuss it next time in Mallorca in March. But there's no reason why not to include the intermodality aspects for visitors, for tourists in the feasibility study that you're doing, in terms of transferring good practices from other regions, also from established good practices. And I would repeat 2 sources of good practice information. One is the Last Mile project, which is now concluding. And they have a lot of material there that you can perhaps adopt and adapt to your situations. And the other source is the Smart Tourism Capital. They have published some 50 different case studies or good practices around Europe. Of course, not all of them are applicable to us. We should only look at sustainability and accessibility. But there are lots of material there to see how we can use this in terms of adapting into our situation. And all this will go into the action plan, which is, okay, we have next year in Bournemouth, assuming that Brexit doesn't happen,
June,
or
yeah.
we'll find some way. We have in June the specific meeting of the action plans, but as I've been saying previously, we can start thinking about the actions for the action plans from now. So one action could be on intermodality. Ideally, each destination should have one action about each of the 4 topics. One on low carbon transport, one on intermodality, one on accessibility, one on cycling and walking. We said from the beginning, because of the particular situation in every destination, that partners may drop one of the 4 and concentrate on 3 out of the 4. But if possible, all 4 aspects of what we think smart mobility destination could be included. So if you want to have an intermodality good practice action in your action plan, think of from now how you can adapt what you heard from Bremerhaven, what you heard from Lake Balaton, what you heard also we had from Funchal from Horarios to Funchal in Madeira, and bring this into your policy instrument, whatever policy instrument you have indicated to start with. We should not lose track from the policy instruments that we have originally proposed in each destination. This is your target to improve through the actions and the action plans. And the actions, the building blocks of the actions are the good practices that we've been discussing. And there's also the indicator, the self-defined indicator. You know, 3 years ago when we wrote the proposal, every partner suggested or specified a self-defined indicator, which is there. I have presented this in the past. It is on the application form. It came from each partner, so it shouldn't be difficult to relate to that. And that's what you have to report. There's a self-defined indicator, and there's also a value, a target value to be achieved at the end of the project. And therefore, this should be reported in PR3 maybe. We should start with this. PR3 will finish this week, semester 3. So from next week, we'll start preparing the third progress report. And there you have to report some kind of policy development related to what we've been discussing, at least for the 2 topics we've been discussing so far. If there are any questions, I can answer. But I repeat, good practices, building blocks for actions. Action plan, very important to relate and improve the policy instrument you have originally proposed. Self-defined indicator to monitor the success of achieving the target in the policy instrument.
Thanks, Manos. So I can tell you, Bremerhaven just started with the tender process for the feasibility study, and our stakeholders will be involved in this process. So we will have till the end of May the result of the feasibility study. And but I believe we should discuss further on intermodality facilities for visitors. Because the webinar, we should talk with our stakeholders about this matter at the moment, or maybe our bus operator could give us a good best practice for the bus hubs here in Bremerhaven. And this would be a good idea that Jörg Fröhlich could tell us something about this. Die sprechenden Fahrgastanzeigen.
It's our best practice.
Best practice. Einmal kurz erklären. Yeah. But I will deliver till the end of the week you some information or some best practice from Bremerhaven, and then we do our job till the end of this month. So. Okay. So, and maybe the other partners also could be involved in our discussion.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Nice.
Just to let you know that we've Steer have produced our final report for our feasibility study on our sustainable transport solution along our seafront. So that will be ready to send round to all the DESTI partners after Christmas.
Oh, great.
So you'll then have the full report that we can share with you all, so you can kind of see the consultation process, the thought process, the different shortlisted options that we've got. So feel free to use that how you want.
Maybe that would be a good practice also.
Yeah.
That is how to do a feasibility study for visitor mobility.
Yeah, and if it's helpful, we can always send you our tender specification that we wrote as well to procure Steer themselves as well, set out what the project deliverables. So I'm not sure whether you've already had that or not.
Yes, I think we have that. It's on the drive.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go because I've got another conference call on a wayfinding signage project that I'm managing. So nice to see you all.
Okay, thank you.
See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Hannah.
So perhaps Carmen from Mallorca can tell us something about what you want to do for best practice.
Yes, we just contact one of our stakeholders. So they are going to present one on accessibility for, they create a map for blind people or disabled people that can guide us around the track in the mountains. So this is one of them. So they are doing this. And from our part, we're going to present something that we do within the Conseil de Mallorca. So for now, is all I have. And we are start also the procedures for the tender for the feasibility study. So this we are start also the procedure. So I think for the moment is all I can say. So we will try to find more good practices from other stakeholders, maybe see more project. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
What member is on also?
Sorry?
I don't know who's on and can tell what he wants to do for the best practice action plan.
We will focus on our path trails in the mountain. We try to make them accessible. So the action plan will be based on that, but I don't have more details yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Is Madeira online? Claudio? No.
Lead partner?
The lead partner, perhaps? Artemis, are you online? No, Derek?
Yeah, I am still here. Yeah, one thing I was going to say is in terms of your own best practice, and I can try and send something today. As you know, I've got to go away first thing tomorrow morning, but I'll try and get it done this afternoon. But looking at, and I've been playing with the numbers for some time, your sort of access of putting the car somewhere and enabling people to transfer to public transport is actually coming out in the surveys itself. You've actually and it comparing with other people, the number of people who have travelled to Bremerhaven by car and then used the bus is right up at 19%. I mean, that's very high compared with anybody else. So clearly that park and being able to transfer to the bus is successful and showing up in the summer surveys, if that makes sense. What isn't quite so clear, you also got quite a high share of cycling, so that is also showing up. The fact that you can rent bikes everywhere, and what is clear from the surveys is that actually there is at the moment virtually no uptake in sort of what I call the sort of the new novel modes, the electric scooters and things, and of course it will be interesting because you're saying that they're not yet available but they're available elsewhere. It will be interesting to see what their use will be like, given that we know at the moment that there is virtually no use whatsoever. They don't show up in the surveys at all. But as I say, if you wanted sort of supporting evidence for the parking and then being able to transfer particularly to bus, that is actually showing up very well.
Okay, thank you.
Nicole, I'm Claudio. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Claudio. Hi.
Hello, sorry. So basically, speaking about our experience in intermodality, we feel a best practice template. We sent to Manos 1 week ago. So, and basically was about our experience in integrate join bicycles in buses. So for us was basically a weekend product focus on young people that want to bring the bicycles in the upper part of the cities. So was a very nice pilot, but we lose our support here in Madeira, but the measure was a success abroad. So a lot of cities upscaled the solution. But yeah, in our case was basically not for commuters, not for everyday transport, but for leisure transport. It was a success. Yes. So for us, it's our best practice for intermodality. So leisure transport and bicycle and integration between bicycle and buses.
Claudio,
can I ask, Claudio, does that come from Destinations Civitas?
Yeah, this was a previous project.
The previous project. Okay.
Yeah, it was not the destination one. So in destination, we have an upscaled or the same solution. So Limassol already installed. If you know already, Flixbus has the same solution. So we didn't patent the solution. So a lot of cities look at our way to do and they copy basically. But the idea for us is leisure, not commuting. So it's very complex to bring your bicycle or the opposite and go by bus and take the bicycles. It's not easy for commuters. Yeah.
That's exactly what we want. We want to identify success stories that worked in other destinations in the past. That's a good practice.
Right.
And transform this into an action in another destination, like I can think in Paphos, for example. This could be a good way to transfer a good practice from Funchal to Paphos and apply it in the scope of this project. That would be a success, an achievement.
Yeah, and also in Lake Balaton, we discussed this in the discussion group. So maybe you can keep the buses that are parked in the train station. And we discussed it also in Latvia when we so that we can also contact the public transport operator to convince them that this is very cheap and affordable and simple way to make tourism with buses. So yeah, so in both cases, in Balaton and for the Latvia partner, so we can upscale simply the measure. Is very, I can tell you the technical solution, the product, so it's something you can buy in the market. So it's very simple.
What was the capacity of bikes that you can carry on a bus, Claudio? Because that's been one of the issues with carrying buses, cycles on buses, has always been where to put them and how many you can fit on and whether you pre-book them. Did you solve those sorts of issues with the pilot?
Yeah. This is the weaker part or the weaker issue of the measure. So basically, some people arrive at the bus stop and the rack was already full, and there is quite sometimes it's difficult to make bookings. So at least what we inform the line that has so the grant this service, so the lines that have equipped bus, but we couldn't avoid the arrive and find the equipment full. But at those time when we launched, was more or less 10 years ago. There were no apps, so all the market of apps were weaker. So maybe with a simple app we can make this check, but it's something we didn't. So was a weak aspect. Yeah.
That really would be a significant addition to the good practice if it could be done in such a way that it could be booked. I think that would really be successful.
Yeah. No, as you told, for example, the pre-book could be a solution because usually the racks were used during the weekend. So maybe with the pre-booked, I know that the bus at 10 is already full with bicycles or not. So if we work with pre-booking, maybe it's easier. But yeah, is a way to make upscaling and to improve the measure. Yeah.
So thank you, Claudio. I don't know if is somebody from Latvia on. I've written with the rights, but hello, Latvia?
Alice is there.
No? So we just have one of our stakeholders. Can tell us something, Klaas, you want to take?
Yes, hello. We have short internal discussion about transporting bikes and buses. We have some challenges in Bremerhaven for this idea because we have a lot of people in the buses, and then it's not possible to transport bikes in our buses. One idea is what we have in focus is to make a bike sharing at big bus stations. So you have the possibility to travel by bus, and then you can change on bikes. So it's a mix of both. It's not your own bike. And then the next thing is that you can find the bicycle perhaps very easy with an app on your smartphone. So we have then a mix of buses and bikes, and nobody need a car in a part of the city. So that is just what we discuss internal at the moment.
Yeah, and I think with a new system with Nextbike, this would work. There you have a app, and it's Europe-wide tested, so this will work. And we get perhaps next year in May about 200 bikes from this company. And it's called Bremerhaven Bike. So we just look now where we can locate it for the best to have the intermodality and to share it with the other modes of transport. Stefan, do you want to say something to this topic, perhaps?
Yeah, you saw the map, and we located maybe the bike rental station on the backbone of the public transport, as we said before. Yeah, I think that's the best way. Klaas said it, main station is the first one, but we have a lot of station for public transport, and we get to know which frequencies are there, and the public transport could help from Bremerhaven Bus to get to know where the best places are.
Can I just ask for information? I think that sounds excellent, and again is, I think, a really good example of good practice. Will you be able to buy a single ticket for the bus and a demand responsive cycle hire? Will that be possible? I mean, you were talking about having all these new cycles going by bus and a demand responsive cycle hire at the destination. Would one be able to book that on a through ticket as well as find out where the cycles are on the apps?
We have the mobility card I've shown at the presentation.
That would include cycle, will it?
Right, and if you have a monthly ticket for public transport, train, bus, then you can use also this Nextbike type Bremerhaven bike. 30 minutes for free each day. So you have a great mobility if you just want to go to work here in Bremerhaven, and from the main train station to your work, you just can use it with your normal ticket.
Again, I think that's excellent, and that will show up with the residents' use of bus and cycle, and that will show up with the residents really clearly. Is there any possibility of adjusting that? Because a tourist isn't going to have the monthly ticket. Is there going to be a way of actually opening that up and making it accessible to the tourist market as well?
Normally they just do it by themselves with the app, because a lot of the tourists who are usable to apps and the modern techniques, they just open it with a QR code, and then they can use it with the app, and they pay by credit card or something like that.
But so they would have to do it separately from the bus, but they would be able to do it relatively easily.
For the
They wouldn't be able to buy a bus ticket and the cycle, but they would be able to access the cycle easily.
I believe for the tourists we can't offer this for free, because we have to refinance the system, and this would be a problem. But for the residents, it would be 30 minutes free if they have a monthly ticket.
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't a criticism, it was just a question. I was just trying to work out the logistics. Thank you.
Perhaps we do. This is a long time ago. It's an idea to do a touristic card with some offers, and it could be that we implemented the free using of the Bremerhaven bike for 30 minutes. But it's in planning. So and we'll see how we can finance it. So it's not up to date.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Nicole, can you think of this as an action in your action plan?
The implementation of the Bremerhaven bike, the new system, you think?
Yeah.
For sure, but for the next session.
At the moment, if we take it in the action plan, because our feasibility study and these results will go in the action plan. So please wait, have a little bit patience. We're still working on this process, and I believe we will find a way to make a good action plan.
Sorry, additional to Franziska, we have find this the challenge between Bremerhaven Bike and Bremerhaven Bus. It's not the same company, so it's our challenge to combine these buying companies, and this is one of our action what we will discuss in the next time.
Then you get closer to mobility as a service. Not exactly mobility as a service, but you're getting closer towards.
But it's getting there.
Yeah. I mean, this is the kind of thing we need to start thinking about, how to combine and facilitate the interaction between interchange between those.
So somebody else?
Yeah, from hello from Latvia Greenway Station. Also, listen very carefully, and sorry, we just would like now add something about bus and bike this issue, and after excellent organized seminar workshop in Bremerhaven, we have not our seminar but another seminar which is related to transport and mobility in Latvia, and we discussed with state road administration about new policy, and which started from 2021. So, and we discuss about this issue, this problem about cargo bikes in buses, and so it will be included in a new policy, but not in all bus organization. Just will be selected some organizations. So, and about prices for this services, there will be no prices, and that's a little bit surprise us, because it's we see that this is a business could be enjoy also in this, but for first step, it sounds it will be some selected state bus companies, and not all, but some parts will be possible to connect it. In Latvia, situations will be very important, because we are working with these greenways green waste network, and green waste network is not usually, as you remember from my presentation, Bremerhaven is not connected always with train, but mostly with buses. So for us, it's very important, and of course we would like to put this problem and find its solutions as well in new this policy document. So that is, if we're talking only about this, but it's very important actually to attract new tourists, and otherwise we have to use it only this part which is connected with our train network, which is not enough. And of course, example from Madeira and all partners will be very, very useful and helpful. So very shortly.
Okay. Thank you. And in Bremerhaven, it goes by the Bremerhaven bike. We want to do it's a bike rental for just to know it's free fluently, so you can just take it for a short trip, and then log out with the app and take it for another short trip, or also another bike, and you can see with the app where the bike is, and it gets the daily service and with reparation, and so that the bikes should be always in good condition. And we also make a plan where how much bikes are located, and this will come the next weeks or months till we start in May, probably. So is there something else online, some other destination who wants to tell us about best practice and action plan, or?
Yeah, specific measures for intermodality. So we have some experience of park and rides, but Derek already speak about. We have nice experience with the apps to improve the experience of tourists. So to have to find the scheduling, so join, so to prepare the agenda according the events and the transport solutions. So I think we are more in a technological field and less in infrastructural. So I think that intermodality in the past was a lot related to big facilities. So when we speak about intermodality, we speak big shopping malls or big parks where we can leave the car and take public transport. But I think that there is a lot of intermodality also in a bus stop, in a sidewalk. So I think we are more in the micro intermodality and less in big infrastructure. So this is the message in 20 words.
Thank you, Claudio. Oh. Somebody has some technical problems now. I don't know who is it. Latvia. So I
Yeah, we are here.
Ah, okay, you're there.
Yeah. Still we are here.
Okay. So I think it's already time to just say from Bremerhaven, nice to have you with us. And I wanted to ask Manos if he wants to have the last words of this webinar session. Manos?
Yes, I think everything has been said. I would like just to remind participants that there is consultation open until the 4th of December on urban mobility. I will send you the link on email, and you can go online and offer your views, right? And they will be taken into account. But this is about urban mobility. Mobility in Europe. But what we need to bring in is the tourist component. That's what our task is. So maybe we can say something about what we're doing, different destinations about this in this consultation. It is available until the 4th. So that's next week, isn't it? Yeah.
That's Wednesday, yeah.
So, just it's time to say goodbye. And thank you for all the participants now at the webinar. And hope to see you in Mallorca then on the next. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that was
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I just confirm Mallorca was 10th to 12th of March, was it?
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
I mean, 10, 11, 12 would be working days. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, yeah, sorry, I didn't hear that. No, sorry again.
So 10, 11, and 12 are working days. So you have to arrival on the 9th and leaving on 12th afternoon or 15th morning.
That says that I have to be in another country on the 15th of March, so I was just double checking.
Okay, so
I hadn't got it all wrong. That's brilliant. Thank you very much.
You too.
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye.